Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head over to Belgium once again, and we're going to have a look at a Belgian beer that is fairly kind of distinctive if you like, but I've just never ever got around to reviewing it. I've never actually tasted it either because it's one you see quite regularly, and as a beer reviewer you're always wanting to buy the things that are a little bit more unusual. So for this one we're going to go to Brouwerij Huyghe, who are from a little town called Helle to the southeast of Ghent in Flanders in Belgium, and we're having a taste of the famous Delirium beer. So even though it doesn't say it on the label, this one is the Delirium Tremens, the 8.5% golden Belgian strong ale, triple fermentation, 3 different types of yeasts and all this kind of thing. I'm really just not sure why it doesn't say Tremens on the bottle, because that is the name of this beer. Really not sure exactly why that is, but it should be a really nice beer. This of course is a really quite famous Belgian beer, as I was mentioning to you. Really highly rated. Rate Beer gave this one a 94 overall and a 92 within the style. As I always say though, do take Rate Beer with a bit of a pinch of salt, but it is a fairly decent barometer for knowing how good your beers are going to be. But very distinctive of course for the pink elephants and stuff like that. So as always, I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer, and we'll see how we get on. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery quickly. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my future reviews that hopefully I can do from Brouwerij Huyghe. Very first time I'm trying one of their beers on the channel for you, of course. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Belgian beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to. As I promised you, I am going to make more of an effort to review more Belgian beers over the coming while, but as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Brouwerij Huyghe then. So Brouwerij Huyghe are located in Helle, a small township to the southeast of Ghent in East Flanders in Belgium, or Oost-Vlaanderen as they call it in the local Flemish language. This of course is the sort of Flemish Dutch speaking region of Belgium. But the brewery building is known as the Appelhoek, and this site that it's located on has apparently been home to a brewery since the year 1654. The history of the Delirium Tremens and the Brouwerij Huyghe though goes back to 1906. So in 1902 Leon Huyghe arrived in Helle with his wife Delvina van Deurseler, who was the daughter of a brewer, and apparently Leon was just really fascinated by the fermentation process and the brewing industry. But a few years later in 1906 he bought the brewery, having worked in it already, and named it Brouwerij Muiterij van Appel. During the First World War the occupying Germans apparently took the copper kettles to use in the war effort, and afterwards these had to be replaced very, very quickly. But from 1936 until 1939 the construction of a new brewery complex took place on the Gerard Bergstenweg, which is still home to the main brewing hall. They describe this as the pride of the brewery, of course, and if you go on the Brouwerij Huyghe website, that is the distinctive kind of blue building that you'll see there. But this actually, from then until the mid-1980s, they were producing German style beers, which was quite unusual for a brewery in Belgium. So they were producing a Pils beer, and they were also producing some kind of Dortmund styles, but their sales really started to suffer because of that. 1970s in particular was a very hard time for the brewery, but after they started changing their marketing a little bit, things did pick up. But in 1985 they underwent a radical rethink of their brewing, so they started returning to the top fermented Belgian style beers as we would know them outside of Belgium, of course, and this was under the 3rd generation of the family ownership, Anita Huyghe and her husband Jean Delay. And over the coming years the brewery did start to grow very, very well, and they actually acquired a number of other smaller breweries in the kind of surrounding regions. So this was the Artevelde Grand Cru, Biertoren, Dam, who were from the Netherlands, and also Wielers. And in 1992 they handed over the control of the company to their son Alain, and they've continued to expand ever since then. They're now employing around 50 people in the brewery, and they're producing around 200,000 hectolitres of beer per year. They've got quite a few different beer brands as well. So the beers that you'll get from Brouwerij Huyghe include the Delirium range. There's the La Guillotine, Averbode, Floris, Campus, St. Edisbad, Blanche de Neige, Mongozo, Artevelde, and also the Wielers beers as well. In the Delirium range there are 6 different types of beer, so that's this one here, the Delirium Tremens. There's the Nocturnum as well, the Christmas beer, the Red, Argentum, and also Deliria. And Deliria is one that's actually quite interesting apparently, because it was produced in a competition between 65 entries, all of whom were produced by women brewers, and they chose the best one. So that's one I've never actually seen, but I would absolutely love to try. I've only seen the Delirium Red once or twice, and the Tremens and the Nocturnal and the Christmas beers are fairly easy to get. So I will try and review some of the other ones for you at some point in the near future. But yeah, that's all you need to know about the brewery for just now. We'll actually get on to the tasting of this beer itself. So yeah, this one apparently was first created in Christmas night on Christmas 1988, and it used 3 different types of yeast strains, so it has got a triple fermentation process in it, which is quite interesting. They describe it as a Belgian strong ale at 8.5%, and it should be a kind of nice golden colour. If it comes out of this bottle and it's something completely different, then maybe it isn't Delirium Tremens, but as far as I know, this beer is the Delirium Tremens. There you can see the distinctive pink elephants on this one. There is the Delirium Cafe, of course, in Brussels in Belgium. I think there might be one in Ghent as well, if I'm remembering correctly. There you can see the top label with the pink elephant again, plain kind of foily bottle cap on this one. It tells you, you know, authentic Belgian beer on the back and things like that. The alligators and the dragon and things like that. I think the idea behind the artwork on this one is just, you know, it's just to be as crazy as possible. The pink elephants, of course, are quite distinctive for this one, and you do get Brouwerij Huyghe in Delirium glasses too. But without further ado, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. Nice smoky opening, as you always get from Belgian beers, and we'll get it out and into the glass. I'll tell you something as well, you can smell some of the really nice yeasty qualities coming out of this beer. One thing you always have to do with Belgian beer if you're only just getting into it is just pour it very slowly to avoid getting a huge head on it. But you can see this is a really lovely crystal clear beer. So actually, in my experience, it's actually a little bit it's kind of 50-50 whether a Belgian beer is going to be hazy or not. That this one looks like it's a really lovely clear beer. So as you can see, I've maybe poured about 5/6 of it, or 80%, something like that. But as you can see, this is a lovely kind of clear golden straw colour. There's a solid 2 and a bit finger of a frothy white head on this one. It's not even beige or creamy or anything like that. It's definitely a foamy white head. There's quite a few bubbles in this one. Belgian beer, of course, because of the way it's fermented and the types of yeast and things like that, you do tend to get quite a bit of carbonation in these beers, so you can really see the carbonation being quite visible in this one. But overall, it looks really quite nice. I think it's fair to describe that as a pale golden straw colour, and the beer is quite transparent actually. I think it's fair to describe it as that. You can just see there is some condensation around the edge of the glass. We'll just let the head settle down a little bit and we'll put some more of the beer in later on. But let's take a closer look at the aroma then and see how we get on. Yeah. So with this one, it has that typical Belgian sort of bready, yeasty character, as you would expect. So you get that nice, almost slightly banana kind of clovey spice. There's maybe a little bit of wheaty character coming out of this one too, but that really distinctive Belgian yeasty note. A little bit, maybe even a little bit peppery, clovey and peppery spice coming out of this one. Good wee bit of floral aromaticity from the hops as well. You can pick out a little bit of an almost lemongrassy note, but there is a good bit of a kind of slightly spicy floral character as well. Some kind of apple and peary esters, I would say. A wee bit of a kind of lemony citrus too. And maybe just a little bit of an almost candied, slightly reddish fruit character. It reminds me a little bit of the Haribo Star Mix sweets that you get, the little heart-shaped things. You can pick up just a little bit of that, but really the fruits are leaning more towards the kind of apple and peary type esters and things like that. But overall, you know, it smells pretty nice. It does smell like a pretty typical Belgian beer, if that makes sense. It's got that lovely Belgian bready yeasty character about it. But yeah, it looks really nice. So without further ado then, let's get stuck into this beer. As I always say though, just take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck in. But we're going to have a go at this one now. So this one is the Delirium Tremens from Brouwerij Huyghe in Helle in Oost-Vlaanderen over in Belgium. Let's get stuck in. Proost. Yeah, that's pretty nice. The first thing you'll notice about this beer is that it's really quite clean in its flavour. It's lovely how it just all goes together quite well. Let's put the last of this in. You can see how crazy the head on these Belgian beers goes in some of these videos. But yeah, really just lovely beer, this one. A nice kind of strong golden ale, strong Belgian strong pale ale or something like that. But this one, for me, it's really nicely balanced. I mean, the thing that's always dangerous with Belgian beers, as I've told you numerous times, is how strong they are in alcohol, but how easy it is to drink them. This is really nice. It's got this one, for the alcohol content, it's really light and really drinkable. So as I always say, before you start examining the flavour too much, just sugar it around the palate and let your whole mouth adjust to it. But with this one, you can feel that nice bready malt base just going right across the middle of the palate. On top of that, you start to get some of the thicker, doughy, kind of yeasty notes. There's a little bit of wheaty smoothness comes out of this one, as the flavour progresses. You can feel a little bit of that in the middle of your palate. There's almost a little bit of a kind of caramelly note in the middle of your tongue too, and you can feel the sort of citricy, kind of floral notes pushing their way out on the middle of the tongue too, which is quite interesting. There's quite a lot of citricy character in this beer. But that's really nice. As I say, the distinctive feature on this one for me is the mouthfeel. You know, there's some really, really good sort of Belgian strongers out there. Duvel, of course, is one of the classics as well. This one's completely different to that. The Duvel, I think, is a little bit more kind of oily in its mouthfeel and things like that, whereas this one is really quite light. And it's the word that comes to mind when I talk about this beer is just how clean it is. It's got lots of flavour, but it's a nice kind of it's slightly lighter in the mouthfeel, I think, and just a little bit more easy drinking. That's a lovely, lovely beer. A bit disappointed in myself that it's taken me so long to get round to trying this one, but you know, there's so many beers in the world. As a beer reviewer, you know, what can you do? But I'm glad I've tried it now. But yeah, really, really good stuff. On the hoppy side of things with this beer, in the back corners of the palate there's a teeny little bit of earthiness, but that's almost non-detectable. As you come further forward along the sides of your palate, you get that nice kind of floral aromatic note. It's actually quite spicy on the side of your tongue too, so you can feel that just as you kind of come along the front sides of your palate, and as you just go to the front corners, there's a little bit of that kind of spicy floral aromatic note. As you go round the front curve of the tongue, it's a little bit more lighter and kind of grassy, and you can pick up some of those sort of almost lemongrassy and more citricy notes. Behind the front curve of the palate, of course, is where you'll get that little oily bubble, and that's where some of the really the most sharp kind of citricy notes come out of this beer. As you progress further into the aftertaste, you get a little bit of the almost kind of appley sort of perry ester coming out too, which is really nice. But it's just nice how everything goes together in this beer. Like I say, the word that really comes to my mind with this one is just how clean it is. It's a really, really good, just a really nice, quite sessionable beer. And it's weird to say that for something that's 8.5%, but you know, it's a classic beer for a reason. That's what you have to remember with it. But yeah, really pretty awesome beer. That's the distinctive thing for me with this, just how clean and easy drinking it is. As the flavour progresses, you do get a little bit more. The kind of, I think the slightly spicy character that's in the malt base of this one just dies down a little bit, and it kind of blends in a little bit more with these bready, yeasty characters. You do start to get a little bit more of the kind of banana-y flavours coming out of it, and the sort of, it's not quite bubblegum, as I always say. You get bubblegum more with the American wheat beers and things. But these Belgian yeasty flavours, they just mellow out a little bit as you go further and further through this beer, but really very, very solid. Like I say, it's a legendary beer for a reason. In terms of the mouthfeel of this one then, I'd say this is actually quite light-bodied. It could fit onto the lighter end of mid-bodied, but in terms of Belgian beer, for me, I would say this one really is quite light-bodied. The carbonation does make it quite crisp, but it's not overpowering in that sense. There's a wee bit of an oily character to it, but like I say, it's mainly a wet mouthfeel, this one. The thing that surprises me with this is just how clean and easy drinking it is. There's a good bit of hoppy bitterness to this one. I do think there's a little bit more of hoppy character to this than some of the other ones, and maybe the mouthfeel helps bring that out a little bit, but there's a good malty presence. It's got a good balance between the yeasty characters. There's a wee bit of a sort of a strong kind of almost citricy caramel flavour in this, which is really quite interesting, and there's a little bit of that juicy fruity character as well. The citricy notes in this beer are particularly strong, I would say, but it really suits the slightly more hoppy character that it has. But like I said, really, really damn awesome beer this, and it is a bit disappointing that it's taken me so long to get round to trying this one. So yeah, if you haven't tried it already, I highly recommend that you do, and I'm disappointed at myself for not getting round to this one sooner. But yeah, it's been really cool to finally get a review of this one done for you. As always, I hope you've enjoyed my take on this beer. Let me know your own thoughts on it in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are in the Delirium range and from Brouwerij Huyghe in general. Of course, I do apologise if any of my pronunciations of the the Flemish words hasn't been quite right in this one. Dutch and Flemish, of course, are notoriously difficult to pronounce, but I hope you've enjoyed my beer review nonetheless. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Do check out my social media, but most importantly, support your local craft breweries and have a go at some of these Delirium beers and the Brouwerij Huyghe beers if you get the chance. Until the next time, it's Flanders just now, and I will catch you guys very soon. The Delirium Tremens from Brouwerij Huyghe in Helle, Oostflanderen, sorry, I should say, Oostflanderen in the Flemish region of Belgium. Slanja just now. Proost.